This is Brady, and in this video we are going to go over some of the other options available when setting up a component in LabWizard. You should have watched the previous video on how to set up a new component in LabWizard before watching this video. First we will cover the other options in the event triggering section that was not covered in the last video. We will start at the bottom with the option to reanalyze after out-of-spec analysis. If this is checked, then any time an analysis is completed for this component and the concentration falls outside of the spec window, then LabWizard will set the analysis trigger to do now. This can be used if you want to double check that the component is actually out of spec and that there was not an error in doing the analysis, or to check that any changes made to the station in response to the out of spec analysis did bring the component back into the spec range before continuing with production. Similarly, the reanalyze after add option will tell LabWizard to reset the analysis trigger anytime an add is issued for this component. If the analysis calls for an add, but for some reason that add is not issued, then LabWizard will not set the analysis to do now. If the trigger makeup based on adds option is selected, then the makeup setpoint box will be activated. The units for this box will be the same as the units for adds for this component. LabWizard will keep track of the total amount of this component that has been added since the last makeup was issued for the station. Once that total is equal to or greater than the set point, then LabWizard will ask the user if they would still like to make the current add. If they choose to make the add, then the makeup will be set to almost due. If they choose to not make the add, then the makeup will be set to do now. One common use of this feature is to trigger a makeup after a certain number of metal turnovers. If the station should be dumped after 5 metal turnovers, and every 1000 milliliters of this component is half a metal turnover, and the adds are in milliliters, then the makeup set point would need to be set to 10,000. The station will need to have a trigger for the makeup of the station, and the trigger should not be infinite time. When set to almost due, the time or product throughput left will be set to the values entered for the almost due trigger. By default, these are 60 minutes and 100 product throughput. Another common option for issuing a makeup based off of component analysis is when a component is accumulating over time. This is when the station makeup prompt is useful. Select the checkbox to activate the concentration target for this component. Usually this will be set within the spec limit so that we are rebuilding the station before it becomes out of spec. If you are wanting the target concentration to be a higher number so that we are checking for whether the concentration is above the number, click on the less than sign to switch it to a greater than. Additional instructions can be provided to the user here. These will be printed to the pop-up window that appears. They will not be printed on the makeup form. The optimum range options are simply for recording on reports. Usually these will be near the target value and within the spec range. Nothing will be triggered from these values, so they are purely optional. Some components may require additional actions to be taken if the concentration reaches certain values. This is where action limits are useful. Select the Enable Action Limits box to activate the rest of the options. The lower action limit will trigger when the concentration is below this value, and the upper action limit will trigger when the concentration is above this value. You will have to set a value for the action limit that you want to use, as well as set an instruction for what to do when that action limit is reached. In the last video, we covered how to enter the analysis procedure for this component, but from here we can also enter add instructions and makeup instructions for this component. The add instructions will be printed anytime an add is issued with this component, and the makeup instructions will be printed anytime makeup is issued with this component. Make sure to click Done to save any changes before you exit. Once you are done making any changes on this window, always make sure to click OK to save any changes. Thank you for watching, and look for our future videos where we will cover complex formulas and SPC functions.